Good evening, it's Patrick here, coming to you live from Complete Health. And I thought I'd jump on and just discuss some of the benefits and value that you can get from taking part in yoga, because this is a question I get asked all the time. Is yoga actually good for my injuries? Now, we have to set up some context, because when we look at something like yoga has got some huge benefits for people's health. And so it is very often recommended by a friend or family, or in certain cases, I've even had it recommended to patients from their doctors when someone is suffering with something like a neck problem, shoulder problem, low back pain problem, etc. However, we also have to understand is when someone is coming in with an injury, we have to understand whether yoga is safe for that person. Now, here are some of the benefits of yoga. Yoga is almost second to none in most forms of exercise for improving stuff like your flexibility. So by getting into those difficult poses, good evening, Sophia. By getting into, and hello, Diego, and hello, Haley. Welcome, good evening. I hope you are all doing really well on this beautiful rainy day. So yoga helps. Probably out of most of the forms of exercise that I ever see, yoga is one of the best for building flexibility. However, that is what most people obviously only think that it does. When we look at stuff like the downward dog's position, and you have to hold those positions for, say, for something like 20 to 30 seconds, you're actually starting to build huge muscular endurance in the muscles in your shoulders, the backs of your legs, in your lower back, as well as the flexibility. And there's a term that I like to use called mobility. Now, flexibility is how far that we can move. Mobility is how far can we move through a range of motion and still hold stability. Now, there's a difference. You may well be able to touch your toes. That would be flexible. But being able to touch your toes without rupturing a disc, that would be mobile. And so sometimes if someone is not stable, using yoga is possibly not the best option. Other things that you might benefit from yoga: increased bone density, muscular endurance, improve mental well-being and calmness, and it's also really it's great for a social interaction. But what we have to understand, like I say, like any form of exercise, we have to evaluate whether that person is right first. So this is one of my biggest problems, is it gets recommended for low back problems. Now, low back problems quite typically tend to come from discal nerve or muscle injuries. Now, if it's muscular, most likely yoga is going to be helpful. But if there's any of the other types of injuries, stuff like tendons, ligaments, joints, etc., actually yoga tends to have a provocative effect and can actually start to cause stuff like sciatica. It can increase pressure in the discs, and as a result, if you've got an unstable disc, they can start to rupture. And so it's worth looking to rehabilitate and stabilize first before maybe you partake. And I'm not saying that, say for example, you've got low back pain, that you'll never be able to do yoga, but it's worth looking at improving your stability in your spine first before you start trying to take on a type of exercise that could potentially be detrimental. So this kind of links in with some of the previous videos I've done, stuff like the phases of healing. If someone's in an acute inflammatory phase, the last thing you want to do is go through the motion, because all it's going to start to do is increase the inflammation in the area. It could potentially tear tissues, and it could actually detriment and slow down your recovery time. So there are different types of exercise that we would choose when someone's in active injury versus when they're trying to prevent an injury from taking place. So guys, if you're using yoga as a prevention, brilliant. If you're using it as a cure, maybe not the right choice. But if you need any advice, maybe you are trying to use yoga and you're not getting the progress that you actually want, or you've been doing yoga for a long time and all of a sudden something's starting to crop up and it doesn't feel quite right and the yoga is not actually solving it. Get in touch. That's the point of us doing these videos. That's the point of us having the online messaging stuff on our website, so that you can actually get in touch with us. It's also the same reason why we send emails out. You guys can reply to those emails so that you can actually get in touch with us. So as Patrick here from Complete Health, hope you guys are having a beautiful evening, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow. Take care.